All right, guys, I'm going to mute everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am super excited because I get to have Dr. Jeremy Thornton here. I'm going to mute everyone just to keep everyone quiet. So Jeremy, when you start, we're going to have to unmute yourself. There's a chat box in the bottom if you guys want to pop the chat in there. If you're catching a recording, obviously that's not going to be alive, but if you have any questions or anything, my email is mandy@kissketo.com. If you guys wanted to shoot me an email after this, you are welcome to do so. So I'm bringing Dr. Jeremy Thornton on here because, and I'll let him do his intro, but we work together on helping people utilize, thanks for putting it in the chat, utilize ketones to do the ketogenic lifestyle super easy. And I know everyone on here always hears me talk about it, so I just wanted to bring someone else on to talk about it. So Jeremy, if you wanted to just go right ahead, maybe tell everyone what your story is, why you like ketones. You have had a dramatic change in your life. I know, I love hearing your story. It never gets old, and like how you implement it, and then we'll just ping pong back and forth. So you have to unmute yourself.
There, how's that?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Perfect. No technical difficulties so far, fingers crossed. So go
ahead. Cross your fingers, everybody. Well, great. I'm glad you, thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to see so many people joining us. I'm Dr. Jeremy Thornton. I'm an internist, chiropractor, and a clinical nutritionist. I practice in Missouri. And like a lot of people, my first introduction to the ketogenic conversation was about 21 years ago when the Atkins diet gained a lot of popularity. Anybody do the Atkins diet back then? Some of you aren't old enough to remember. But so I did the Atkins diet, which challenged everything that I'd learned in medical school about fat. And Keisha said yes. Fat and diet. We were taught back then, and still, sadly, a lot of doctors are taught that that fat and saturated fat are bad for us, and that's going to clog our arteries and give us a heart attack, right? So of course we know that's not true, but so that's when I started the ketogenic diet. I wanted to see what my body did, how it responded, how it worked, and so I did. If you don't know what a ketogenic diet is, a low carb, high fat, moderate protein approach. And so I did that, and like a lot of people, I experienced a lot of side effects when I first started the ketogenic diet. Anybody else experience any keto flu or any side effect? Bessie says amen. So I would get a headache. I would get tired, what my wife calls hangry, both hungry and angry. I would just be wiped out for several days. Usually took my body, I know everybody's a little different. Some are blessed with the ability to get there quicker, but it would take my body a week to 10 days to get into ketosis. And so that week was not a lot of fun, but I was stubborn, and I would stick with it and finally get into ketosis. And if anybody has ever experienced ketosis, raise your hand or say me in the chat box. Ketosis was just a different state of existence, right? I just felt amazing. I had crazy energy. My brain functioned better. So I loved being in ketosis. The problem that I had, though, and have had over the years was I always joke if I even looked at a piece of bread, it would throw me out of ketosis. So I had a hard time keeping my diet strict enough all the time to maintain a level of ketosis. And it wasn't much fun to yo-yo, back in and out of ketosis. I would experience some of those same side effects to get my body back into ketosis again. So I did the ketogenic diet over the years, loved being in ketosis, but struggled to maintain it as a lifestyle. I even used the ketogenic diet with patients in practice, mostly at that time for weight loss and for blood sugar disorders. I have since started using it in a number of different ways that we might get into. So that was my experience with the ketogenic diet. So up to about 2 years ago, a doctor friend of mine was making a post that she was doing something to lose weight and feel better. And I desperately needed both of those things at that time. So I messaged her, say, hey, what are you doing? And she says, well, I've got this new technology. It's a powder that you can shake up with water and drink and put your body into ketosis. So you can imagine with my experience with the ketogenic diet what I thought about that claim initially. So to say the least, I was very skeptical about that possibility. But I also knew she was a really sharp cookie. So I said, well, send me some. And so she sent me a little white pouch about that big, had this powder in it that tasted like an orange dreamsicle. She told me to do half of a pack, and I didn't listen. I put the whole thing in there and shook it up and drank it. And I had what I like to call a first dose experience. It lit me up like a Christmas tree. My brain fog lifted. I didn't even realize I had so much brain fog until it was gone, right? My energy levels went through the roof. I literally wanted to go run. And at that time, it'd been quite a while since I'd ran. So I wasn't sure what had just happened, but I felt amazing. And I still didn't believe I was in ketosis, right? I still wasn't convinced. But being a good Atkins follower in the past, and doing the ketogenic diet, I knew the fastest way to determine if I was in ketosis was to do what? Anybody? To use a pee strip, right? So I went to the clinic, got a pee strip. If you don't know, you can check your ketones in your urine. The strip turned purple, and I knew I was in a state of ketosis. So I had a little bit of a mind-blown moment at that time, because I realized that I know I wasn't in ketosis to start with. I drank something, and then I was in ketosis. So and then eventually, still being Mr. Skeptical, I even did blood testing, because ketosis is actually a state of elevated blood ketone level. So I thought, well, maybe it's just doing something funny in my urine, but no, indeed, it was in my blood too. So I started to do experimentation on myself and started doing more research into ketones and specifically beta hydroxybutyrate, and come to find out that the ketogenic diet didn't start with Dr. Atkins. The ketogenic diet started, the idea and the studies behind a ketogenic diet started nearly 100 years ago, when they found out that a low-carb, high-fat diet could treat drug-resistant cases of epilepsy in children. So the research goes way back there, and then has progressed over the years into a number of other areas. And actually, talking to scientists, probably one of the most famous scientists in this field, Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, told me that there's been more research in ketones and ketosis in the ketogenic diet in the last 5 years than the previous 100 years combined. So it's really an extremely popular topic right now. In fact, right now, the ketogenic diet's the most searched Google health term. People are really excited and interested and trying to find out about it. What's interesting is that scientists and researchers in academia aren't excited about the fat loss benefits of ketones. Now, I was, and probably some of you are, but they're excited about what ketones are doing for the brain and cognitive disorders, everything from ADHD and autism up to Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, neurodegenerative conditions. They're excited about what ketones are doing for blood sugar disorders, for autoimmune conditions, for inflammatory conditions. There's a lot of research going on in all of these areas currently, and it's pretty exciting to see, where it's going. So before I get too far off track, where the research started with this technology was several years ago. The government funded research through the Department of Defense and the Navy, because they were having trouble with Navy SEALs developing oxygen toxicity seizures. Say that 5 times fast. So they knew the research on the ketogenic diet with epilepsy. So they thought, well, maybe a ketogenic diet could keep soldiers from developing these types of seizures. And indeed it did. But they also knew keeping soldiers in a strict ketogenic diet all of the time wasn't probable. So they started studying and doing research to find out if they could cause a state of ketosis through a supplement. And so that's where the research started into the technology that we're talking about today, was government-funded research, actually through the University of South Florida and Dr. Dominic D'Agostino. So Mandy, I know I was just blabbing there for a while, so I don't know if I covered everything you
No,
wanted
you
to, but
did. No, I love it. I love hearing just like where it started, how it came to be. So I guess basically you had tried the ketogenic diet, but like what made you, one, get into the ketogenic diet, and two, what were your results with drinking ketones and doing the diet? And then I have a whole bunch of FAQs that I always get that I'll fire away at you.
awesome, awesome. Well, as I mentioned, I loved being in ketosis, and I love the ketogenic diet. I mean, who doesn't like to eat fat and protein? But the trouble I had was to maintain it as a lifestyle. And so when this came about, I saw a major opportunity not only for myself, but I also seen a lot of trouble with patients to maintain compliance with a ketogenic diet as well. They struggle the same struggles that I had. And so when I saw how easy this was and how I felt, and how it raised my blood ketone levels, even when I was doing a strict ketogenic diet, still keeping me in a deeper, more consistent state of ketosis, how much better my brain worked, how much better my energy and stamina and focus, not to mention weight loss benefited from that. So that's when I started using it myself. My family has used it. I've got a really neat story about my son Gabe, who had some learning and speech delays and developmental delays that we'll talk about another time. But then started to use it in practice, everything from weight loss to cognitive disorders to autoimmune conditions. And in our practice, we mostly treat chronic degenerative disease. So there's so many different avenues that ketones, especially beta-hydroxybutyrate, can be used to treat a myriad of different health conditions that plague the human body. So.
Awesome. So that being said, it actually, because you said that you have patients with compliance issues, I know you and I have compliance issues. We don't want to talk about my Chipotle habit that I always complain to you about. So somebody is asking, what happens to the carbs or the glucose that's in your body when you drink the ketones? Because obviously you don't want to it's not a good long-term thing to continue to eat Chipotle. Where does that Chipotle go? And after you drink them?
Well, Chipotle will still go to your waist.
Yeah.
But the neat thing about this is that it's diet independent. So now, why I don't recommend that people continue to do a high carb or sugar diet and just simply drink ketones. Now, surprisingly enough, they will still benefit from ketones no matter what their diet is doing. But the glucose is still there. Before this technology, your body could not produce ketones unless all the carbs and sugar were gone, right? The glycogen stores in the liver were used up, and finally the body has this amazing metabolic switch that it can start to burn fat for fuel instead of fat for fuel instead of glucose. So all the cells in our body can only burn two forms of fuel. They can burn glucose or they can burn ketones. The neat thing is that ketones do not require insulin to cross into the cell and be used for energy. So they're actually a more efficient producer of energy than glucose. They use less oxygen. They're actually called a super fuel by the people in the ketogenic space. So the carbs are still there. There's several tissues, including the brain and the body, that actually prefer ketones. So even though there's still carbs in the system, we're putting ketones directly into the bloodstream, and the cells can have access to ketones. This is the first time in human existence that we could be a dual fuel organism where we could have both glucose and ketones in the bloodstream at the same time.
So would it be fair to say that the carbs would burn first because your body wants those, that's the quickest way, and then the ketones will burn second? Or just for us layman's people, they always just want to know?
Well, actually, the brain will skip over the carbs and use the ketones. Now, our muscles, depending on our activity level, our muscles may utilize the glucose first and then tap into ketones. So the neat thing is that they can coexist. Now, when I'm working with patients that want to lose weight, of course, I try to recommend more of a lower carb approach, because insulin is going to battle us anytime we try to lose weight. So insulin loves to grab everything and shove it in our fat cells, right? So if we're still doing a lot of carbs and drinking ketones, we're still going to have trouble with weight loss. We may still benefit from improved mental clarity and focus and energy, but we're going to have trouble losing weight if we're still triggering a lot of insulin release from the pancreas, which is of course designed to store and hold on to that fat.
So what happens then? So like, how long do the ketones last in your body? And then are you automatically like kicked out of ketosis if they all burn? Like, how does that work? Melanie is asking.
Right. Well, depending on the person, everybody's individual. I've tested myself with a single serving and have lasted up to 6 hours, over 6 hours in my bloodstream. Now, if you're doing a ketogenic diet, of course, your body, your liver is already producing ketones to a certain level, right? So if you stop drinking it, or after the ketones have been cleared from the bloodstream, your body is still burning fat for fuel. You're still going to have ketones in your bloodstream. Maybe not to the degree that you did when you were supplementing, but they're still going to be there.
Awesome. So would you say that like, if people that we can't like diagnose or talk about medical stuff that's just like super firm on because of just regulations in the supplement world and FDA and stuff like that, but blanket statement, anybody that does have health issues in general, are ketones beneficial? Is there any adverse side effects to taking ketones exogenously that you've seen?
No side effects. I've worked with ketones. We do a lot of blood work and lab work in our clinic. And of course, I was interested in that when we started using it. How does this affect the body? How does it affect the organ systems? There's a lot of misinformation about ketones being hard on kidneys or liver. Simply not true. In fact, ketones are easier on these organs than glucose is. So you talk about somebody that's got fatty liver disease. We think that that's from eating too much fat. Wrong. That's from eating too many carbs and sugar, and insulin is shoving fat in our liver. So if you guys are interested, this is a fairly new book that is on the market called The Ketogenic Bible. I didn't write this, and I don't.
Right here.
We go. And I don't benefit from you purchasing this in any way. Neither does Mandy. But written by Dr. Jacob Wilson and Ryan Lowry, that goes into a lot of research that we probably shouldn't discuss in great detail due to, again, being a nutritional supplement, not being able to make specific medical claims. However, this talks a lot about the research and a variety of health conditions and disease processes that ketones, and including exogenous ketones, are showing benefits for. So I encourage you, if you haven't got this book, it's not very expensive. Just go to Amazon.
Oh yeah.
And pick up that book. There's also great recipes in there. It's great for the beginner up to the advanced ketogenic follower.
I think we ordered it like the day it was on pre-order. It's a required reading for anyone that's in my group. So I have a few questions, FAQs, besides the one I was already talking about. So the first one is, are all ketones created equal? Like, we obviously represent Prove It. That's the company that we love and have incredible results with. But like, I know you and I are super science nerds, and like, we have tested all of the other products. Everyone knows that I have, but like, in your opinion, from like a clinical / like medical background, are all ketones the same? And why is it that somebody can go to the store and maybe buy something way cheaper versus like what we have?
Sure. That's a good question. And something that I had a lot of interest in early on, because of course, Prove It was the first product on the market, the first ketogenic product on the market. And so shortly thereafter, after Prove It created such a wave in this technology and in this ketogenic space, there have been a lot of people try to mimic and copy what Prove It has done. Without getting into a huge amount of science, and I've done a lot of testing personally with on different versions of a ketone supplement, and really what has to happen if it claims to be a ketone supplement, it has to raise blood ketone levels, right? That's what it's designed to do. That's what an exogenous ketone is from the outside in. if it doesn't raise blood ketone levels, it's not worth very much, right? Does that make sense? And so a lot of the products on the market do not raise blood ketone levels at all. And part of the reason is, and I don't want to get into all the science and stuff, but there are two basic isomers of beta hydroxybutyrate. Now, beta hydroxybutyrate is the ketone body that is in Prove It, and is the major ketone body that we study when we talk about the ketogenic diet and ketogenic research. Now, our liver produces beta hydroxybutyrate, and we can drink beta hydroxybutyrate. So the two isomers are called a D isomer and an L isomer. The D isomer is actually the bioidentical version to what our body makes. And that is in Prove It, the Ketone Max, the product, the Max technology, is the only ketone that Prove It uses, okay? There is also an L isomer, which a lot of companies are using the L isomer, and studies are showing that it is, one, it's not bioidentical, it's more of a mirror image, but the body doesn't utilize it very efficiently. In fact, some claim that it doesn't utilize it at all, and some claim it may be potentially harmful to the body. So the L isomer, of course, is a lot cheaper. And so a lot of companies are using the L isomer, or they're mixing the two. They're using a little bit of the D isomer, which is the bioidentical version, the reason that Prove It raises blood ketone levels so effectively. And they're mixing in a lot more L isomer and calling it all beta hydroxybutyrate on the label. And so that's why that people that are experimenting with this are finding that the product either doesn't raise blood ketone levels, or it doesn't raise them very much at all. So the reason that Prove It ketones, of course, that's one thing that I get asked is well, it's pricey, and indeed it is. But I've never seen anything that has worked like this technology has. And I've experimented with a lot of different versions, and it's because they're the only one using the bioidentical version. The D isomer is the reason it's so effective, and others aren't. If you read the labels, a lot are using what they call GO-BHB, and that's the form that a lot of companies are going towards, and that is a mixture. Nobody knows how much of a mixture it is, or how it's not 50-50, is it 70-30, but they're mixing the D and the L isomer together in these products that have GO-BHB on the label. And so, anyway, I don't want to go. I think everybody's yawning, going to fall asleep if I continue on this.
All about isomers. Yeah. So, what about people that say, "Okay, well, I don't need to drink ketones because my body produces them," and like just kind of maybe just briefly, because we can talk all day long. We always do this, but I want to keep it between like 30-35 minutes. A lot of people are like, well, one, my body produces ketones. I don't need to drink them. One, and two, is it like expensive urine? I guess that's what like I always get. People are like, oh, well, I read in a group that it's expensive urine. And I'm like, I have a video from Ryan Lowry that says otherwise, but maybe you want to, I only had 2 minutes with him, so I was nerding out. But maybe you want to touch on that just like briefly about that situation.
Yeah. And it would, and that's one thing I had feared. I was like, well, when I tested myself, I'm like, okay, well, it turned the urine strip colors, but ketosis is elevated blood ketone levels. So if it's elevating your blood ketone levels, it's not expensive urine. Now, if it only showed up in the urine and didn't do anything in the bloodstream, I would agree wholeheartedly that it's expensive urine. But anybody that's tried our Prove It ketones can tell usually fairly soon that things are happening in their body. And I guarantee if they test their blood, they'll prove that to themselves. And so what I use, my body's producing ketones also. And, but I can tell a difference, and I feel better when I use ketones along with the ketogenic approach. My blood ketone levels stay higher. I feel better. I can tell a difference in my energy and my mood and my focus, my metabolism. And so, it's also much more forgiving if we have Chipotle, right, Mandy? If we get off track. And so I don't experience all of the keto flu stuff. I don't experience the side effects. If I happen to get out of ketosis with diet, I'm right back in with supplementing exogenous ketones.
Awesome. Well, I think that was it. Did we cover everything in 30 minutes?
That's pretty good.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Does anyone have any other questions? You guys asked awesome questions. I know. So Karen said, oh, Karen actually is third party validating as well for us. She said that she loves her Keto OS. She wanted to hear some science. And she said she had a hard time staying in ketosis with straight nutrition. And she uses Keto OS now. And it's been helping. And then Tammy, that was my next point. You perfect segue into that. I'm going to do this quick screen share for you guys. I'm sure you guys are probably all wondering how to even get these ketones. So I actually have 5 or 10-day trials, which I love to do. I actually encourage everyone. We can talk science all day long, but like until you really just get the ketones in your system, you're really not going to be able to understand how they work. So definitely you can grab a 5 or 10-day trial at www.kissketo.equid.com. And you can use, because you guys are on this webinar, you guys can use the coupon code FREESHIP5 at checkout for a $5 off savings. And then if you guys are really ready to take the Prove It plunge for 20 or 30 days on all of our flavors, send me an email. I can send you an awesome video that our friend Sarah does on all the different flavors. And I have a little discount coupon for you guys if you want to go ahead right in. And then also what I love about Prove It is that we offer a money back guarantee for 90 days. So you really have nothing to lose if you hate it, which most people don't. You can always return it or just speak to me because I will probably just buy it back from you because I always need it on hand. But that is how you guys can grab that. And then lastly, yeah, so you guys can grab those for 20 or 30 days, whatever you guys want. Just shoot me an email, mandy@kissketo.com, or text me, call me, however you guys have my number, or on Facebook. And then, yeah, that was it. I think that's it. Anything else to add, Dr. Jeremy? I appreciate
Well, I'll answer Missy's question real quick. She had a question about ketones in the urine, and is it better to test blood? And
perfect.
And the urine test, she's right, that urine test over time, especially doing a ketogenic diet very long, the urine test starts to become not quite as accurate. Your body actually becomes more efficient at burning ketones over time, and actually less will spill over into the urine. If you think about it, urine is what your body's not using. What's in your bloodstream is actually what you're using. So if you really want to be an accurate tester, I would encourage doing blood testing. Now, early on in the ketogenic approach, really cheap, really effective, and helpful to see that urine strip turn, and it's going to turn pink or purple. But over time, the longer you do the ketogenic approach and become more fat adapted, the less is going to spill out in the urine. People think, oh, I'm doing something wrong, it's not working. That's not true. Your body's becoming more efficient at burning ketones for fuel, which is the desired goal anyway. So over time, if you still want to test, not everybody likes to test, and that's cool. But if you like to test, maybe get a blood meter and check your blood ketone levels, because as you become more efficient, the urine test will become less accurate. So I hope that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jeremy. I really appreciate it. I'm proud of us for staying under 30 minutes. We usually do these and we talk forever. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me, utilize my email or anything like that. And thank you again. I really, really appreciate it. So
it was fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it again sometime. All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.